Well, welcome back to Cable 14's Generation Z. I'm your host, Amanda Pope. So right now we're going to be talking about what you need to know for what investors look for in startup companies. And I think this is very important information for you because if you're looking for potential investment, obviously you need to know what they're looking for, right? So we're here with Elizabeth, and she's from Innovation Factory, and she's going to provide us with these tips. So thank you so much for being on the show today. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Amanda.
Good. So why don't you talk about your business journey leading up to working at Innovation Factory now?
Absolutely. So I've been with Innovation Factory about 4 years now, and I actually started off in finance, which is totally not what I went to school for, but I found it really compelling. Worked for City Financial for about 7 years, and then moved on to more of the I had a startup myself, and then met Innovation Factory through working for my startup, and then transitioned into more of a marketing and events role there.
Wow, and how are you liking it there?
Love it. It's fantastic. You really can't match the energy of working with entrepreneurs who are so passionate about what they're doing.
Yeah, and it must be so exciting to be able to see such diverse companies that are beginning here in our community. And I'm sure it's great to be able to help them too. Mm-hmm. And in helping them, it's telling them and preparing them for what investors are looking for. So why don't you start off with just talking about maybe the 3 most important things that investors are looking for in startups?
Absolutely. So I think the number one thing is someone who knows their business. You've got to know everything about your business, the technology, the customer, the numbers. You really can't bamboozle anyone. You've got to know the nitty gritty. You've got to be prepared for those tough questions. So definitely having a really, really good knowledge of what your business does is essential. I think knowing your investor is also important because different investors are going to be looking for different things. Some are looking for their exit, some are looking for job growth or economic growth. So you really have to look for what are they looking for and how do I answer or I guess tailor my answers to those types of questions. Mm-hmm. And then looking at your limitations. So knowing honestly, what do you lack as a business and how can you get those pieces in place? Mm-hmm. Never kind of trying to say that you have all the pieces. Yeah. Nobody has all the pieces, so being really realistic and critical about what your team might lack and how you're going to put those pieces in place to succeed.
And I like that last piece because it ties into our topic today about leadership. And as a business owner, being the leader of your company, you need to be humble about what you're trying to do and what you're doing. And if you're not going to be real with the investor and be authentic with them, then how are they going to trust you
Absolutely.
With their money?
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
And what are those things that we should avoid when we're pitching to investors and what will kind of turn them away from wanting to invest in their company?
I think you hit it right on the head is trying to be boastful or trying to be arrogant. You can definitely be confident in your business and you want to project an air of confidence, but you have to be humble. You have to understand, what they're looking for. And if you don't know the answer to a question, it's always better to say, I'm not sure, but I'll get that answer for you than to try and just throw out all the information that you know and hope for the best.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was about to ask you as well is what do we do when an investor asks you a question and it's just something beyond your expertise or you have no clue what it means? What do we do?
Yeah, so it's interesting because usually when an investor asks you a question, they might be trying to get at something else. So they might say, who's on your team, but what they really want to know is, do you have the key pieces to execute? They might ask how big your market share is, but what they really want to know is how many customers do you have, or do you have the ability to be a competitor in the market? So you really have to try and boil down to what they're really looking for and answer that question. And it's always okay to say, I'm not sure, but I'll find out. Mm-hmm. It's never okay to try and just kind of fake it because they know.
Yeah, exactly. They know. They can tell on your face. They can tell by the way you're speaking and in what you're saying too, right?
And generally they're experts in whatever business it is. So if you're pitching to a panel of people, I guarantee one of them understands the market, understands the technology, so you can't fool them.
No, exactly. Yeah. And that's why it's good to be prepared. So how can we prepare?
I think the best way is to practice. Do your research, know who you're presenting to, know what they want to hear. Bring the right people so that you can accurately present your business and give them all the pieces they're looking for, and practice. It never hurts to go to a friend, to a family member, to a mentor and present your business, or to a resource like Innovation Factory, the Small Business Enterprise Center, or another business resource in Hamilton to help you really prepare and put your best foot forward.
Yeah, and just to close off, I want to talk about Innovation Factory because I've known about Innovation Factory for several years with starting my own company, and I highly respect what you all all do there and how you help our community. So how can you help startups to prepare for pitching in front of investors or starting their company?
Yeah, that's a great question. So some of our public resources include workshops on presenting and really nailing your pitch. We have pitch competitions like Elevate Pitch Night, which is a really good soft introduction into getting your pitch ready. And then for more mature companies who are really going after some VC money or angel money, we have one-on-one sessions with executives and residents, and that's all at no cost as we're funded to just help businesses succeed in Hamilton. So I would advise them to fill out an intake form or to contact their customer service rep, and we can get them in for a meeting to figure out how we can really help.
Yeah, and I think that's great that you have the one-on-one meetings too, because a lot of times when you're starting out as a business owner, you necessarily don't really know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's good to have somebody where you could just have a personal conversation, tell them, this is my dream, this is my goal, I kind of have this idea, but can you help me execute it?
Absolutely.
And it's great that Innovation Factory provides that for the people in our community that are starting businesses. And if you have more information or you have more questions about Innovation Factory and you'd like to know more, you can feel free to contact Elizabeth. We have her contact information for Innovation Factory on the screen. Their website is there, their email is there, and their Twitter is itbeginswithif. So if you want more information, you can go there. Thank you, Elizabeth, for being on the show today. And you'll want to stick with us because after the break, we're going to be talking about how you can make a positive impact in Hamilton or your community with what you're doing with your company. Stick with us.